with all the Jaws movies released to Netflix. I thought it would be a good idea to rewatch the third film in the franchise, Jaws 3. Now, in rewatching the film, I would say it's still an okay watch, albeit it's obviously a shell of the original. Jaws 3 is set in a water park, a different setting than the first two outside Amityville Island. It also differentiates itself somewhat from the first two as it tries really to be a more entertaining film, featuring things like world-class skiers and water shows. In addition, it introduced something we rarely saw in the 80s movies, a twist. Now, the movie ran generally, I would say it's divided into kind of three phases. The first was introducing the characters and also the setting. The second was the discovery of the great white shark, the baby shark. And the final, the stunning realization that a second shark was in the park, the mother, one massive, around 35 feet long. Now, call it nostalgia or whatever, but I always love the twist in this film. As they find the corpse of the diver, they discover that the shark, the great white that they captured, couldn't be responsible, and a massive shark was in the park. That said, in rewatching it, I think it would have been better if they moved this twist up earlier in the film. After it happens, there's basically 15 minutes of chaos watching Jaws destroy the park, but there's not too many great, scenes when this happens. There's some people who are in the underwater kingdom who see a corpse. There's the girl who's on the tube who gets bit on the leg, but there's not a ton of really great scenes in those 15 minutes. That said, how did kind of each section of the film do? I thought the cast and characters were all solid, albeit it's tough to believe that Catherine and Michael, the main characters, would have so much power in a water park like that, because they're both no more than 25 years old in this film, or at least they look like it. There were some good scenes to introduce the characters, like the bar scene where they're playing standoff. I've been to a lot of bars in my time, and I've never seen this game, but it definitely looks fun. In general, the dialogue and acting is pretty good, introducing the characters, their lives, their jobs in the water park. This movie definitely wanted to be entertaining, more entertaining than the first two. That's really the only shot it kind of had. So did it exceed? I think so. We have to first remember, watching this today, a lot of the effects, a lot of the things we see, you can see that kind of stuff any day on Instagram or TikTok or whatever. But we have to remember this came out in the early 80s, so the effects, things like the water skiers, those were things many people had never seen before, people standing on each other's shoulders. And I get there's going to be people out there who say that they've been doing this forever and you could see this anytime. But this was a lot of stuff a lot of people just hadn't seen. Movies weren't widespread. There was no internet at this point. The movie also came out in 3D, which definitely this wasn't revolutionary or anything, because 3D really peaked in the 50s from what I recall. Still, there was a revival or more interest in these movies, these 3D movies. Like we saw Friday the 13th, the third one came out in 3D. Also Amityville, that was released in 3D in the 80s. The underwater park was also a pretty cool setting, just the water park in general. Although I kind of felt like they couldn't really do so much. They were kind of limited with just their technology, the effects that they could use. There wasn't really great CG. There was bad CGI, obviously, back then. And really the underwater park, when it kind of collapsed, or not really collapsed, but overflowed with water, it was just a corpse shot and some people running, really. If they had done this today or even 20 years ago, they would have had so much more to work with, so many more things they could have done with that. In sum, though, I still think Jaws 3 is a bit better than most people give it credit for. It's definitely nowhere in the realm of the original, and it's probably about the same as 2. 2 might be a little bit better. I'll have to rewatch that here pretty soon, but that said, it is much better than 4. 4 is an absolute nightmare, a disaster. Other than the banana boat scene, that was a pretty good scene. But other than that, the movie was definitely just a disaster. Anyhow, let me know, have you seen Jaws 3? Did you enjoy it? Thanks.